Camp Dappington. What a trip. Yeah, so check it out. Your boy's been out here playing shows, producing music, and bringing functions all across the country for a number of years now. But I'm thinking, yo, how can we move a little bit differently? Do something that doesn't just focus on the music, but focuses on the community. And that's when I got this crazy idea. Something called the Camp Dappington Field Trip. I'm out here wondering, how can we incorporate my love of fingerboarding and my love of festivals together and do it in a way that unites the community and just allows people to let loose and have fun? Now, if you would have told 10-year-old Drew that as a grown-up he'd be out here doing the first ever festival fingerboard tour, I probably would have said you were crazy. But at the same time, I'm already knowing that I'm crazy too. And I might just be crazy enough to actually turn this dream into a reality. So, without further ado, let us put you on to what the Dappington movement is all about. It was a magical experience getting to return to Desert Hearts Fest. We had set our activation up there last year, but this time around we had all types of upgrades and surprises to share with the fam. We had a brand new custom built fingerboard park, levels ahead of what we used to have, because it's a whole immersive experience now, crafted by the legend White Mike. We had the homie Spencer running the back, and this time around he was a core part of the Camp Dappington crew.
So Drew hit me up on the gram to show some love on a few posts to get Camp Dappington booked for a string of festivals, and one of them was Shambhala. And I've had my eye on the festival for a while, and with where my life was, I told him if it worked out, I'm unapologetically going with him to that festival. And as some time went by, he hit me back and told me it might work out. Sure enough, it did, and we went all in for it.
Plus, having our man's Jack make an appearance for the Camp Dappington crew was an absolute godsend. His energy definitely helped recruit some competitors for our fingerboard event. And if there's anything we learned from the first time around, it's that making a sign, taking it on the dance floor, and busting a move with it went a really long way to get people hyped. And that's how we got at least 5 pages of signups on the clipboard, because we had to do our due diligence, knowing the full potential of Camp Dappington and the joy that our competition brings. We had to get out there and spread the word.
I skated pretty heavy at the time, so when I rolled up on it, I didn't know what to expect. And I had the kind of cool guy mentality that like it wasn't real skateboarding, so I wasn't really into it, to be honest. But once you kind of stick around and you kind of realize the people who are drawn to it and how it translates to real skating, yeah, you get a bit of more of a respect for it. And at that point, it just hooks you.
Amazing turnout. We had all types of shredders come through, all different types of skill levels. We had Lee Reynolds ripping the finger bike. What you know about that? We had Mikey Lyon pop out and hit a few 50-50s. Stoked to see the Desert Hearts crew come through, show some love on the project, and hold it down. People gathering by multitudes to see one perpetrator fall to the dust after the other, quickly disposed of at the hand. Want to give a big ups to the homie Danny. It was a first time competitor, but gotta show massive love to our friend Gabe, who just turned out to be the MVP of the Desert Hearts Fest. I'm not gonna lie. To the battle said if a beat was a princess, I would marry her. For third place, y'all gotta show some love to the homie Danny. First time competitor. Ball's really out here, man. Showed up with the best trick. Good run. Y'all guys saw us for real, and I see a lot of potential in you, King. No doubt. Alright, let's get you a present. Protect that. We got you on a sneaker pack. Give Dappington tea, a bucket hat, photo of the patch. Yo, and yo, hold up. Spent one time holding it down for the Camp Dappington crew. I just want to give a big shout out to Element for holding it down for the whole field trip. They sent us a grip of electrolyte packages to give out to the homies, and I think it honestly saved a lot of people's well-being to be so real. What you know about about that? Grand prize winner. Got the custom Desert Hearts wooden fingerboard. Hell yeah, big ups. Alright, yeah,
So the competition Desert Hearts was a huge turnout, one of the bigger ones for the festival run. All the homies showed up. We had a sick group of winners for that one. Following that was Jew's DJ set. And knowing the community of Desert Hearts and that festival and what it meant to him gave a really rad insight into knowing the impact that had on him. How hard he rocked that show was by far the sickest way to start off the tour.
Getting to play the Sunrise set at Desert Hearts was really something like a dream come true. I couldn't be more honored to get to rock that stage, and it's legitimately been something that I've been working towards for years. And I know deep down that building Camp Dappington and developing this community was the special link that made it all happen. And what made the experience all the more sweet was having the gang up there on stage with me, vibing to my productions, rocking my merch. What more could a brother ask for? Seriously.
As DH came to a heartfelt end, our boy Jack jumped on the park for one last sesh, looking dapper as ever.
Fortunately, we had beautiful weather during the breakdown. Although we didn't want the good times to come to an end, it was still fun hanging in this beautiful spot in Flagstaff, Arizona as we packed up Camp Dappington and got ready for the next adventure. As silly as it sounds, definitely the biggest motivator for us to get Dappington tore down quickly and efficiently was the promise of pulling up on Waffle House after a quick drive down to Phoenix.
Me and Drew had kicked it a few times, but not for a long period of time at that point. This moment was the start of the road trip to set it off and really set the intentions for the trip.
But I'm already knowing it's gonna be a journey of a lifetime, bro.
Straight up. Straight up.
Alright, we ready to get going?
Let's get it, bro.
Let's get it.
So the first night, the spot we stopped at wasn't our intended spot. So we kind of had to make do with what we had. And I threw the cot in the back of the truck and slept under the stars. And that's probably the first in my life that happened. And it had like a profound effect on me. And that star therapy is real.
And we are ready to bring the experience of a lifetime to the homies at Shambhala with the one and only fingerboard skate camp, Camp Dappington. And we here with the crew, ready to get it popping. Let's go.
Although we were on a dedicated mission, we were still hitting skate parks, getting a session every chance that we got. We were just trying to make it to Canada as swiftly as possible while enjoying ourselves along the way.
Drew's got that skis. It wouldn't be proper sesh without a nice sticker slap. And then we were off, heading up north to Canada. We had a few stops along the way at this wild cornfield, essentially. Looked like it was straight out of a scary movie at night.
But the scariest thing about this place had to be the vicious bugs that were literally trying to eat me alive. Although we were under a little bit of pressure because Shambhala wanted us to come through mad early to set up, this was still one of my favorite stretches of the entire field trip because it was both of our first time cruising through Idaho and seeing these awesome skate parks, and hitting the wide open road really instilled a sense of freedom and reminded us that we're doing the most with our free will.
My truck was top to bottom full. The bed was absolutely full. I don't think I could fit anything else in my truck. And I started to realize that overpacking tends to allow you to lose items that you just don't account for. Nice little rest stop as you need to kind of stretch out, enjoy the views as you go. And from there on out, it was game over. We took advantage of as many rest stops as we could.
It was super cool pulling up to this farmhouse where we stayed in Spokane before we headed up to Canada. They had this awesome basketball wagon thing and all types of wildlife on the farm. As soon as I came to the border agent, they were hitting me with all types of questions. And they made me take my sunglasses off And I so badly wanted to be like, boy, these are prescription, I need these. But nah, they said, take those sunglasses off and pull into the inspection stall. As soon as I did that, I just see Stevie and Emma just roll right past me on their way into Canada, on their way into the festival. And here I am left behind, and I'm being detained by the Canadian Border Patrol. And I have no idea what I did wrong. They're asking me, where's the drugs? When was the last time you did drugs? And I'm telling me, I ain't got none of that. You can look through everything. I'm just trying to get to the festival and do my thing. But they did not let your boy off easy. I didn't have nothing to hide. All I had to hide was a grip of Tech Decks, and I told them where it's at.
Despite that fearful interrogation, I'm just glad that fate had our back, and eventually we made it. We were officially part of the crew.
And this was definitely the longest festival endeavor that we had of the whole tour. Turned out to be 9 days on the field, purveying the fingerboard park. We were out there like 14 hours a day. You could find me slumped at Camp Dappington every night of the festival. But you know, as long as I'm there physically, then homies are allowed to come and shred. Mi casa, tu casa type shit.
Due to being on call for long hours, we had to get real familiar with the different vendors on the festival, such as the mini donuts and the smoothies. We were able to enjoy those while we were holding the camp down.
People were going crazy on the Indo board. Luckily, there was no injuries, at least any major injuries.
And shortly after we got the park set up, Shambhala's wild crowd came through to experience something they'd never seen before, and they couldn't get enough of it.
And after day one, it was a non-stop grind, literally and figuratively.
It was something like a dream come true to see Dappington Fingerboard Skate Comp on the official marquee of Shambhala, the biggest festival that we've done yet. So that was a moment where you just gotta think, mama, I made it.
During the competition, we had a lot of people we had met throughout the festival show up, show support. And this was a big moment because our boy Carter rolled through for the first time. That's when we got introduced to him.
And we had the homie here who was smoking tough, but he was also skating tough, so you couldn't really tell him what to do.
We had a little bit of a game and skate the following day. Drew didn't get to see many stages, just working so hard, but we got a clip of him enjoying one of them right there. Breakdown came up sooner than we expected. We enjoyed the moment so much we didn't want it to end, but we got to hang out a little bit during the breakdown. However, our energy levels were just spent at that point.
So after I pulled up on Drew and Stevie at Shambhala and started talking to them more, they showed me the flyer and showed me what they were really doing this summer, and I was amazed. Didn't believe anything like this was possible.
Coming back, we had to enjoy Canada a little bit, show some respect to it.
So we pulled up on Big Timmy one time and reveled in the luxury of sleeping under a roof for the first time in a while.
Some flavors they had, the ketchup chips, which is really popular in Canada. I don't know how well it hit the States, but people loved it out there. We had to hit some parks as well, and that one particularly had a sick session with the locals. They all, at first, didn't know how to take to us, but at the end of the sesh, we were all ripping together. Back through Canada border, we had little energy left getting back to the park. And once we did, we had to get the clips, and I couldn't help myself, and I went in a little too deep.
Oh my God, are you okay?
It's okay, I could bleed really easily, but it's probably not that serious.
Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh,
So at Shambhala, we spent at least a week there, and that took a lot of our energy setting up, breaking down, and during the festival. On the way back, we had to cross the border, and we got shook down pretty tough by the Border Patrol agents. Making it back to Spokane, we stopped up at the park we knew, which was Spokane Park. Energy levels are shot. We're pretty much just doing our own thing at that point, giving each other some space. Went up, didn't lock in how I want. My body just couldn't hold itself up just from being so worked. Smacked my face on the ground, got up, and sure enough, I was dripping blood.
I never even heard of that until we pulled up to the festival. But I heard some people talking about Shambalung, and it didn't even register to me that the Shambalung might happen to you. Shortly after we left the festival and made our way back to America, I was coughing up a storm, and I wasn't feeling so hot. But you know, I thought it was just something slight. Might pull up to Starbucks, get me a medicine ball, and I'll be back to good in no time. But boy, I had no idea of the struggle that we were about to go through. So I was feeling down bad. I was feeling sick as I probably felt in my life. But I was still counting my blessings though. And I knew that we could persevere because, you know, we've overcome every challenge with Camp Dappington so far. I knew this hang up wasn't going to be the end of us.
So it worked out because I needed a rest. And with Drew's cold, we had no choice but just pull off for a day or two and really just catch up on our rest and get our energy levels where they needed to be. It was a bit of a scary moment because I wasn't sure if Drew was going to make it, to be honest. However, he got a call from his boy over in New York who he did Skate the States with, gave him a little bit of a push to keep going, and we made it. So after the gorge, we rolled up to the spot called Two Frog Bog.
Luckily, they had a tent for us ready to go. We didn't have to set up our own, which was honestly super clutch because we were dummy tired. Definitely the highlight of that hip camp was getting to shower in Jim Bob's very own outdoor shower. I'm just glad that he didn't catch me filming that thirst trap in there.
Drew insisted on this shower. The dude told us he built it from scratch. The only one out of a handful of showers Drew actually hit.
Sport beans? Oh, so I guess we got the sport beans now.
And I caught Drew with his shirt off, and his belly button is just covered in dirt. And it's something that's just never going to leave my mind.
I thought the post was pretty funny. I think I sent it to Stevie on Instagram when I first seen it. But, you know, the competition is more than just purely skill. It's about steez. It's about personality. So, you know, maybe that person might have had the skills to bring to the table, but, you know, he didn't have the steez or the personality to, you know, please the crowd or the judges.
You know what, I'm not gonna lie, for a moment I was disheartened. It's like, yo, we coming out here putting in all this work just to give back to the community, give people something fun to do and have a little friendly competition, and you know, how could you go wrong with that? At the end of the day, I realized if you don't have haters, you might not be doing enough. So when I saw that Camp Dappington got some haters and got some people salty, that just showed me how passionate homies can really be about Camp Dappington and the competition that we host. So I viewed it as a good thing, something to share, something for people to laugh at. So all in all, I would say that post written by an anonymous hater might have actually been our best friend because they were low-key putting on for Camp Dappington.
And after that, it was on to Good Time Campout. Pulling up to Good Time Campout was a bit of a secluded little venue. Super nice, unbelievably pretty. And we had gotten there though, and it was pouring rain, as you'd expect from the Pacific Northwest. So it put us off, and we only had like 24 hours for Camp Dappington to be built.
It's gonna be a crunch time, but I know we got this, fam. We gotta bring the joy of the fingerboard sesh to the homies at Good Time Camp Out. We ain't come all this way for nothing. We're gonna deliver. We're gonna be shredding in no time. Mark my words. There we go, famo.
We didn't have any access to electrical outlets, so we got to be green and just be 100% solar powered, which was a good feeling to make Camp Dappington fully self-sustained, powered by nature.
We just kept pushing, and sure enough, we got the park set up as we expected to, and from there we just kind of ripped it. Bit more of me and Drew taking our time and kind of decompressing from the major festival. So we spent a little bit of time at Camp Dappington chilling with our boy Garrett and really just enjoying the time there. Drew just floating down the river at the venue. Garrett is a avid fly fisherman, and he showed us what that was all about, which is really cool.
The people in Oregon were mad chill. They let us ride on their one wheels and we got to cruise around while our friends were shredding Dappington. We were just taking laps around the festival, saying what's up to people as we promoted the competition and spread the word about what the Dappington movement is all about. So here we are enjoying Oregon's lush vegetation, slowly but surely breaking down our activation.
With how nice it was, we couldn't help ourselves. There was no one else around at that festival. We took it upon ourselves to just kind of linger and, like I mentioned, decompress and enjoy the scenery. However, little did we know we were going to end up lingering just a bit too long.
So with Good Time Camp Out, it was a little bit of a different situation because at this point, every festival that we've worked, there's been a whole gang of people there breaking down other projects that were on the festival grounds for at least a few days after the party ended. But as soon as Monday rolled around, me and my boy Stevie, we were the last people on the venue besides the people that actually lived on the property. And we didn't know these folks at all, so we were strangers. And you know what? It wasn't a bad thing because we were enjoying a beautiful moonlit night together, just cooling by the river and taking our sweet time as we broke down Camp Dappington at our leisure. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we just heard some Now, fortunately, while that gunfire wasn't directed at us, I think we both knew that that gunfire was still for us, and it was delivering a message that was loud and clear. We needed to get out of there with the quickness. And while we were a bit discombobulated in a mad dash trying to make it anywhere to safety, the obvious move was to pull up to Portland, where the skateboarding culture goes deep. So we had the intention of hitting Burnside, but not much else. But serendipitously enough, we found an awesome camp spot that had everything that we could ask for,
which was a farm in the middle of the city. And it didn't make much sense for it to be there, but it ended up being a great spot for us to recoup following what we just went through. Drew did some homework and found us a nice little skate spot coffee shop. Right outside the coffee shop, they had a really sick half pipe, and people drinking coffee and eating their snacks inside could see you ripping outside, which is really cool.
There's definitely more to this quirky city than either of us realized, and I'm glad that we could come through when the sun was shining bright and the people of Portland were outside just catching a vibe.
Drew's Jetboil, I don't think he could have survived without it, to be honest. That was a daily instrument, his routine. We had some suggestions from people at the Festival of Good Times to hit Boring, Oregon, and we happened to come across the Bigfoot Museum.
Where we pulled up and did some research for ourselves. And we got up close and personal with the evidence, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty convincing. While we're in Oregon, I'm researching places where we can camp, and not only did I find a place that got a shower, got a sauna, got an available spot, tell me why they had a whole ass skate park. The whole facility was a skatable surface. And not only that, they had an indoor skate park too. So when the rain started hitting, we had a place to skate. And when we were done skating, we had a place to chill. And chill hard as one possibly could. Because we had a sauna up in the woods all to ourselves.
Send me the pillow that you dream on, so that I can dream on.
So we hiked up this trail, we're kicking it in the sauna, we went back and forth between the sauna and the cold plunge, and that was just the best way to get rid of our stresses and just enjoy the fruits of our labor and make the most of our trip, and honestly make the most of our lives. That was the best $40 I ever spent, and that's a fact.
Drew's hype level at this point, despite being in the middle of the trip, was at an all-time high.
Literally nothing else you could ask for at that place. I would have been content staying for 2 weeks. We only had one night on the premises, but that was enough to catch a vibe and sustain our adventures and keep going.
We had to make our way back to California, and as we went down the coast, we stopped off at a few different hot springs.
It was at this point in the journey when we did a little experimental wild camping. While we may have been a little bit fearful of Bigfoot making an appearance, we didn't see or hear from him. We got a good night's rest, restocked on some supplies, and kept the travels going. We made some interesting friends at the hip camp we stayed at, popped back in the Tonkas, and simultaneously pressed play on the audiobooks that we were both listening to at the same time. I told my boy Stevie, I was like, yo, for this next leg of the journey, I'm just gonna need you to trust me, bro. Follow me. I'm glad that he took my word for it, because I took him to one of the dopest spots that I know about that my pops has been taking me to for years.
Never been there before, and so we ran into some cool people there, got to hit the hot springs, and then the park there is just a world-renowned park in the culture for sure.
It was a bittersweet moment to such the final part of this leg of the journey together. However, it couldn't have been more fitting that it was called Brothers Skate Park.
And this was our final dap up before the end of that run of the trip.
Three weeks later.
So after a few weeks of chilling back at home, we were itching to make a triumphant return, and we were headed off to SSBD, which I like to say stands for same, but Dappington pulled up. This was the first time actually that I had to set up Camp Dappington solo. My man Stevie couldn't join me until the day after the fact, so I feel like that was a good learning experience for me to learn how to set Camp Dappington on my own. And there your boy is putting in that work solo dolo, which I was not mad about. Although I almost had a heat stroke, took it easy in the shade, was cooling out for a little bit, and tell me why my man Steve pulls up like a king.
This moment in particular though, we had our boy Carter show up. He definitely offered to give us a hand at first, and we played it off cool like we had it, but we were pretty gassed at that point. We definitely should have took him up on that.
Not gonna lie, it was a little bit of a tough decision to decide on the location of Camp D at this festival. However, I'm really glad that we landed where we did, with our front door embracing a beautiful view of Lake Paris. while we got to watch these awesome light shows from the other installations at night.
Carter had brought some of the homies around. Just like every other set of friends, we all clicked together and we were ripping on the park, kicking it.
It was all fun and games until a man's named Steve literally came out of nowhere, and he was not messing around when it came to the Dappington fingerboard competition. Tell me why bro came through with his own board. Not only that, he came through with his very own fan club too to cheer him on.
He knew what he was about to do. But our boy Carter definitely gave him a run for his money.
Although I may have been a little bit weary about letting insiders play in the fingerboard competition, I wasn't gonna let some anonymous Facebook hater hold my man Stevie back from showing off his new skills that he's earned from a summer with Camp Dappington.
It was a sick time to kind of show what I was working with at that point and my progression with the fingerboard. And then the venue had a lake, so we just kind of kicked it, got our feet wet.
It's a whole different way of figuring. Shout out to my boy. Big deal.
Let's go. Appreciate you guys. For real.
Place, you probably already knew what's coming. Shout out to my boy King Carter. Those finesses the work. You already know. I gotta show some love to my man Steve right Alright, who needs a high seat?
And that's a patter, baby. 4 flex, we don't owe feds. 2C, we don't lose fee, but we blow peds. Lose me, you gon' lose me. If there's no bread, travel hard, you gon' saddle up. What is more bread?
Drew that festival had some custom board made with the same but different logo, and dude's gonna show it right there. First place got it. Another thing to mention is at that festival, Drew got some of the merch up at the merch booth, which was a big deal for sure. Running into people like that who are just there to have a good time definitely makes it all worth it. Drew pulled some strings, got us some VIP passes, got to go check out the other side of things rather than just grinding.
Like a true champ, our man's Carter stuck around and helped to tear down Camp Dappington just like he tore down the competition.
Ribbon duty is definitely something you appreciate, because it'll definitely weed out the thin, if you know what I mean.
One of the most meaningful compliments I received on this endeavor was being referred to as the Johnny Appleseed of fingerboarding, and that was humbling. But at the same time, it feels really good to ignite that spark in people and give folks a new passion.
And we had booked the spot. Little did we know we were going to be sleeping on the side of a mountain. However, it was definitely one of the more memorable moments for sure. We got a sick park to hit after that, and we were on to the last festival, which is Off the Grid. At this point, we knew we needed a Carter for sure, and he was down for it. So Drew reached out and made him part of the crew for this one.
Next thing you know, we were back at it, and we were closing out the field trip tour with our first appearance at Off the Grid Festival in Southern California. We got a little lost when we were driving up on this dirt road, but eventually we made it to a place that seemed like a secret village out in the desert, and we knew that we were in the right place.
And one of the girls recognized Drew from Desert Arts, and we kind of both looked at each other. And it's those moments that kind of make it all worth it, where you realize like all the work you're putting in is getting recognized for sure.
What was really special about Off the Grid was seeing just how impactful the Camp Dappington movement had been on festival goers. At this point, we had people who were once strangers, now officially part of the crew, who were excited to slide through early, put some love into Camp Dappington, and get our activation up and running at the fest.
We got Carter paying his dues over there. Shout out to Tyler and his wife helping us out. Much needed for sure. And just like everyone who revolves around the camp, we clicked effortlessly as if we knew each other from day one.
It was super cool to see the homie Big Dill pulling up, rocking his merch that he won from Same But Different. And he was wearing it loud, wearing it proud, and he was coming back with a vengeance.
One Wheel making an appearance again. And there I am, just throwing it down with a tray flip. Dylan holding it down too.
Let's go, bro. I'm hitting us, dude.
The zero gravity chair doing what it does best. And then Drew throwing down for the sunset.
It's kind of funny, but at the same time, incredibly awesome to realize that big purple fuzzy thing turned out to be a real peer of Camp Dappington. Because pretty much every festival that we went, he was there too. You know, although the focus of the Camp Dappington field trip was to bring the joy of fingerboard sesh to the homies, you know, it's still obviously a huge honor to get to throw down and perform my music at some of these top tier festivals like Desert Hearts and Off the Grid. And what was really special and serendipitous to me was how I got to rock the sunrise set at Desert Hearts, the first festival of this tour, and then got to close it out with the sunset slot at Off the Grid. And just what really tied it all together is that we had homies holding it down, grooving with your boy at both of them. So going from sunrise to sunset was very fitting, and it was just a special way to close out the tour and get to share my music all along the journey. It's just the biggest blessing.
Turnout at that festival was really dope. Shout out to Off the Grid. And then we got our camp spot, which was all the homies just hanging out. Mind you, the shower situation wasn't the best, and Drew's used to it, and he can pay his dues. However, Carter was a little shook up. We had the competition turnout, which was really sick. A couple of us just ripping.
And we had a lot of shredders come through. We had some great competitors, and I was stoked to have some first timers come through and place in the competition and send them home with some goodies. You know, we just had a great time at Off the Grid until little did we know what we were in for with the ending there.
Repeated storms over areas, and it's already raining this morning. You know, some of these look like they're packing a punch, and then they'll be driving east, okay? Because that upper air disturbance gets kicked to the east.
Monday night, the wind was just insane, absolutely insane, and the dust was just blowing everywhere. You couldn't even be outside without a mask or goggles, it felt like. Then on top of that, Stevie was in critical condition. He was fighting for his life out there. Poor Stevie could barely move and definitely not work, so when Drew and I had to pick up the pace and get it done.
We were able to make it out thanks to the homie Carter's diligence. He let me crash in his overlander setup so I didn't have to stay in my tent, which I was very grateful for because I was not trying to stay in that dusty ass tent and be covered in dirt. It just felt amazing to be able to pull up to a lush Airbnb and catch a vibe one last time before we parted ways.
Camp Dappington definitely changed my perspective on going to festivals and what it's about. Definitely feel like I want to go with more of a purpose instead of just going to party and have fun. Definitely feel like going with Camp Dappington is where I belong.
had I did it again, I don't think I would have changed anything. I think it all went the way it was supposed to. We made it through safely. We hit all our appointments as needed, and we made an impact. And people showed up for it, and we appreciate it definitely.
All in all, I think it's safe to say that this was the best road trip of all time. I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who contributed their efforts to make it a reality, to my dude Stevie, who unknowingly became the right-hand man of Camp Dappington, and to my family for holding it down and giving me the inspiration and the encouragement I needed to make this dream possible. Okay, you can stop it.